Well, welcome to the Charles Billingsley podcast. Once again, so glad to have you with us. I'm Brandon Pickett, along with the man the podcast is named for, Sir Charles.
Oh, see, I think we need to change the name of it to the Sir Charles podcast.
Sir Charles podcast.
I like that.
I think Adam vetoed that.
Makes me
I
feel
just
like royalty.
worry. You think Barkley's going to have an issue with that?
No, Barkley's cool. He's from Alabama. He's cool.
Okay.
I'll talk to him.
Maybe go play golf with him.
I might be able to beat him at golf. I couldn't beat him at
He has the
basketball.
most interesting golf swing I've ever seen.
It is. But you know what? I saw some recent videos and he's gotten a little better. It's a little better than it used to be.
Oh.
A little. Emphasis on the little. But I bet if he ever tags one, it goes a long ways.
A long ways.
This is a real issue, I think, with you. It's that people mix up you, Sir Charles, and the other Sir Charles. Is that what you're worried about?
Honestly, I don't think anybody's ever mixed me up with any Sir
And 20
Charles.
years of traveling
Well, there's
together.
3 Sir Charleses now. There's Sir
there's-
Charles Barkley. There's Sir Charles, the Prince of Wales.
Is he also a sir?
Well,
Does
I
a
don't
prince
know.
also make you a sir?
Oh, that's a great question.
He's an HRH,
What is
What
that?
His
that?
Royal Highness.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to know your British.
Man, I wish I was
trivia.
an HRH. That'd be cool. Her.
I mean, can a prince never be knighted? And if he's never knighted, is he a
what a
sir?
great question. You know what? Let's try to get somebody from royalty on a podcast and talk to
Okay.
him about it.
Sounds like a
I'll work
fantastic
on that.
Meanwhile, perhaps we should just keep calling it the Charles Billingsley podcast.
Yeah,
We'll go with that.
Let's do
I
that.
almost said cod pass. What on earth is a cod pass? Anyway, very excited today because we have 2 wonderful guests. These 2 have been friends of mine for a long time. And they're just incredible artists, great people, wonderful parents, just strong believers, worship leaders, worship pastors, and just phenomenal talent. I'm excited to have them on. People know them from the group Avalon,
Yes.
but they also know them for their solo work. So I'm very excited. Maybe we should just go ahead and bring them on. Do you think?
Well, let's go to a break.
Okay.
When we come back after this break, we will have.
I'm
Tell
sorry.
us who they
No,
are.
you told me we were going to do a break, and I just completely.
That's all right. That's all right.
But
You know, after the break, who's coming on?
Just tell us who's coming on the
Okay,
show,
I know.
Charles.
Greg and Janna
Okay,
Long.
thank you.
All right, here we go.
We'll be back after this break with Greg and Janna Long on the Charles Billingsley podcast.
Welcome back to the Charles Billingsley podcast. We are so excited today to have 2 wonderful guests, Greg and Janna Long. You guys ready to meet these people?
Absolutely.
All right, Greg, Janna, hello.
Hello. Thank you
Charles.
for having us on the Sir Charles Billingsley podcast.
Well, thank you, Janna.
Compromise.
You just found a great compromise. The Sir Charles Billingsley podcast. It's long,
It's very
but
long.
I like
It's
it.
here to be a
Also
blessing.
I, but
Yeah, that's true. I'm not a sir. But you know what? It sure is great to have you guys with us today. It's an honor. They are Zooming with us from their home in Houston.
Yes, we're north of Houston, about 45 minutes. And it's a lovely, I don't know what it's like in Virginia, but here it's like 72 and sunny today.
No humidity, which is
Yeah.
great.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
it's going to be there soon. Summer's on
Yeah.
the way, and Houston can be blazing hot.
We enjoy it.
Yeah.
We enjoy these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding. But Houston's such a great city and such a incredible just mix of culture and restaurants and shopping and and churches, great churches. In fact, you guys until just recently have been on staff at a church for what, 10 years?
Yeah, 11 years, Charles. So we left Nashville to join a church staff. And that was at Christmas of '09. And so for 11 years, we served on a local church here in the Houston area. And then October of last year,
2020.
of 2020. No, of 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the COVID. Nobody knows what year it is. Yeah.
That just
Nobody knows. Anyway.
watching you guys have that conversation is like a conversation with my wife.
Oh, yeah.
Corrects me, and I'm usually wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's just fun to see this banter between you two.
And
You guys have
Charles,
been- what?
that's also that's down another generation because that's my dad and my mom. My dad was a preacher, and he'd be in the sermon, and my mom would go, for the front row, shake her head, and he'd be in his sermon giving a story. She'd be like, and he'd go, "Oh, what, honey?" And then my mom would go, "No, that was October." Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. That was October.
I love his sermon. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, it happens to me when I'm driving. I don't know if y'all have a wife that tells you where to turn and when to turn, but I don't even use a GPS anymore because I just know that she's
You just have her.
Probably knows what she's talking about.
She does, because I'm distracted with something else typically. Who's the more distracted of you? Is it like the more ADD of the two of you? Is it Greg? Janna says yes. She's just pointing at him.
She's pointing for those listening in the podcast.
It's like, oh, there's something shiny. No, yeah, I would say, yeah, he's more that way, and I'm probably more the fine details. You think?
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So so describe your two personalities to us. Like, do you guys are you like into the Enneagram thing, or how would you describe?
No, so everybody's in the Enneagram thing, and then they all think I am, right? All my friends would be like, "Oh my word!"
About it.
Oh, my.
Adam's a.
I'm not going to go there.
He's an 8 wing 2, or
No, it's
I'm
not.
a 15 wing 17. I think is what I am.
That's
How many wings do you like?
I got a lot of wings.
there's,
Honey barbecue?
Honey,
we don't have enough time.
Asian zing. So tell us about the Enneagram. Like Adam, you love the Enneagram. If you had to guess, and they're not on the Enneagram, they're not into that, but if you had to guess between Greg and Janna, what would they be on the Enneagram?
So I'm making a disclaimer. This is making an evaluation out of one Sunday morning with you guys.
Yeah.
While we were performing and doing worship. And the previous 10 minutes we have been on the computer. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Well,
Let's go.
First of all, are you a licensed Enneagrammist?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, not at all. I have great friends who are, but I am not.
you can be licensed in the Enneagram thing.
I don't.
Yeah, you can get.
Yeah, but I want
you
to
can
say,
get
one time I was traveling with you and just listening to Adam and your son Caleb talk about Enneagrams for an hour.
Oh yeah.
Oh
It's a
my
big deal.
word! I learned so much and
Yeah.
slept really good.
Well, it is a thing, but okay. So back to your personalities, Greg and Janna. I would guess. Now you tell me if I'm wrong. I would guess that Greg is like me. It's kind of gets distracted easily, but is very social and really just enjoys chatting it up with people. But then he can't remember what he told people when it's done. And then Janna, you're the one who writes things down and you're organized and you help keep things in order in the house. Is that correct?
Yes. So Greg would be more the extrovert. I think he is refueled by engaging with people. He's pretty social. I tend to recharge by so I just returned from breakfast with a dear friend of mine here. I'm more of a one-on-one or, a small group.
That's me too.
Well,
baby.
that's you too. But neither one of us would ever be like, oh, throw me a big surprise birthday party, for my birthday next year. That would be hell for both of us, like having to talk endlessly to a bunch of people at one time, right?
Yeah. Well, so I
Excuse me.
if there are a bunch of people there, my personality is I'm cheating. I'm not able to talk to them all and look them in the eyes and spend time talking to them. So now I feel bad.
Right. And I'm thinking, I just want to get home to my dogs. So, it's.
Well, see, that's good. Well, you know what? It is kind of funny because personality-wise, I'm a little bit like that in the sense that I can be the life of the party if I have to, but I really prefer not to be. I like to just, kind of chill. But
Yeah.
Do you guys suffer from FOMO, fear of missing out?
I don't
I think it's that bad for me.
so.
No. Why is that you, Charles?
We're pretty boring. I think we've gotten more boring in our older age.
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Put it this way.
Case.
I work with Charles, and my world of work involves a lot of things that he doesn't need to be there for,
Nor do I want.
nor does he want. But he really wants to be invited.
Well, and that's why I don't have
Sure.
I don't have FOMO. I have fungi. FOMO is the fear of missing out. Fungi is the fear of not getting invited. That's what I really get. Because I don't need to go. I just want to get invited.
I think that's a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not just me, right?
No, I think that's a lot of people. You don't really want to go,
Mhm.
but you don't want to not be asked.
Right. Because you
So
want.
you're good turning the people down. You're good being like, no, I'm not coming to your little thing. But
If he finds out a
they
little
still-
thing
they-
happened,
without me.
but they still need to invite you. So
Yeah, because I want to be invited
That's
to
why-
the little thing.
That's why they call it, it's the thought that counts. I appreciate you thinking of me.
There you go.
I can't come, but
no, you can come. I choose not to come to your thing.
So let me ask you this before we get into some deeper things. What's a perfect day for you two?
together or separate?
Together. What would you, if you guys could choose what you want to do, if you have a free day, what would you want to spend it doing? Writing songs or walking on the beach, or what do you think?
We're beach people. We do love the beach. When we take vacations, if it's just the two of us, it's pretty much exclusively the beach. And when we say beach, we like the Caribbean. We don't like the waves we're not surfing.
Surfer?
We like the beach. We have our little secret place, our favorite places where the water looks like glass, and you can walk out a half a mile and it's up to your waist and you can snorkel and that kind of stuff and do nothing and then eat.
Well, and some people, we have friends like this, and it's not always a good match in the sense, sometimes people want different things out of vacation. Like the wife wants to go do a bunch of stuff, or the husband wants to go do a bunch of stuff and she just wants to lie around the pool. Greg and I both, when we get there, give us a lounge chair and don't ask me to move unless it's just to get in the water to, frolic
I like
about.
to be in the water, but with her,
But we're not
busy
do a
vacation.
bunch of stuff. So we're
I
very
have
similar.
family friends, and every chance they get, they all jump in the car to go vacation at Disney. And I'm like,
Ooh.
that's not vacation. Let's be honest.
I don't know. Disney's really not. Yeah. Then you need a vacation from your vacation. But
I don't like coming back from vacation worn out, but I tend to do that.
But hold on.
I can fill an agenda pretty quick.
We vacationed together over the years, our family, and my wife, Liesl, and Charles could vacation together just fine. And
Yeah.
Shay and I can vacation just fine because Charles and Liesl, they want to know what we're doing and then that there's a plan.
Yeah.
And
Your wife and I would see everything there is to see and do everything there is to do. Meanwhile, you and my wife would just sit there and do nothing for a week.
because I'm on vacation.
that would be us.
So there you go. So
I would say like a perfect day would be like,
At home, you mean?
no. Well, wherever. So it starts with coffee in the morning. We're both coffee drinkers. And, for me, coffee is just not, I have to have my coffee. It's just an experience. I like to sit by the fireplace or sit on the patio and the coffee, it's
Yeah,
an
if anything
experience.
happens, she'll go, this is not helping my coffee experience. That's what if anything interrupts it, it's,
So probably coffee and then, a great day at the beach, just relaxing, and then nice dinner. And we're pretty easy.
So are you bougie coffee drinkers? Like just like
I don't think so.
plain drip coffee, or are you
Yep,
like
plain
Yeah.
in the mornings. Yep.
Yeah.
Plain drip in the mornings.
But I will give him props. So part of my coffee experience is the mug has to be heated before the coffee goes in it.
Oh.
So he will get up and like this morning he made the coffee and I get up, my mug is heated and it's already prepared for me. And it's just an extra step. Yeah.
Well, that, Greg, that's a great husband move right there, buddy.
There's a
Yes.
lot of guys listening right now. They're taking
Yeah,
notes.
take
on that.
notes, guys. It's the little things. Heat the mud.
Yes.
Heat
Yeah,
the
they
mud.
make these instant hot water dispensers. We have one. So
Yeah.
And that's what actually both Lisa and I do. So we get the mug out of the cabinet this time of year. It's cold.
Yep.
You put the hot water in there, let it sit, and then all the heat from your coffee doesn't go into your mug.
Wow.
Exactly.
All right.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This is fantastic. Take notes, gentlemen. This is powerful. In fact, let's just go there. As a family, tell us about your kids, and then I would love just for those who are listening, parents, for them to get a little parental advice, parenting advice. From Greg and Janna Long, who they've listened to on the radio. They know your career. They know you. Of course, so many people admire you guys, but maybe just a little word of wisdom as parents to other parents who are listening on how to deal with your children, because now you've got teenagers. Am I correct?
Yeah. So we have 3 daughters. We have our oldest is a senior in high school, 17. And then our middle is 15 and she's a sophomore. And our youngest just turned 12. And so three girls. And I mean, the wisdom, and advice would probably come from Janna. We are fine. I mean, because our oldest is just now getting ready to go to college. And as you know, Charles, we came and visited Liberty. We're still on that. We still don't know where she's going to go.
So we haven't lost out yet on the chance.
Right. Liberty hasn't lost yet because we haven't decided. And we loved it there so much. In fact, as the parents, I guess you could, you pull for a place. That was one we would pull for, but that's such a learning experience and uncharted waters. And what kind of advice would you say, honey? I mean,
oh man. Well, with girls, hold on to your wallet. That'd probably be the first thing.
Yeah.
You know what? One thing I will say of all the things I don't think I've done well, and this kind of goes back to your love languages as spouses, but affection is a big thing of mine. And so with my girls, we're very tactile. I want to hug you. I want to see your face. I want to look into your eyes. I want to, I want to snuggle. I want to be there, be present with you. That's been a big thing for me. And sometimes they like it these days. It's like, Mom, you're a little close. Can you please scoot away? But to be physically present and show affection to them, even as they're getting older, has been a big thing. And also the other thing I would say is, in this world of technology and social media and all of these things, I'm sure at times I've gone overboard, but man, you have to do the stuff that is time consuming. Like you got to know their account passwords. You've got to keep track of who's following them, who are they following, what are they posting. I often tell Greg that's like a second job, but you really, I think even when you do it well, there's still so much you miss because that's just the world that we live in. But, really holding them accountable, like, why are you posting this? Or is this a friend that you know in real life? Is that, just all of those things, because you just can't be too careful.
Well, and Janna always says the Holy Spirit is your biggest helper as a parent, because
yes,
we'll be sitting down on the main floor and, the girls are, let's say, upstairs in their bedrooms or whatever. And then she'll just say, I need to go get, whoever's phone. And I just feel like I'm supposed to look through that. Sure enough, 9 times out of 10, she clicks on something like, who's this person? Look at their profile, and then like, you shouldn't be following them and they shouldn't be following you. And look at what they're messaging. And so, you as a parent, you want to stay in touch with the Holy Spirit and say, hey, help me be a parent. Help me protect my kiddos because they're not old enough to protect themselves. And they don't, whatever that part of your brain is where you make decisions. It's not, Janna says mine's not fully developed either, but
Janna has 4 children.
Yes. But you want to have the Holy Spirit involved in your life to help you and be that voice. The pastor's wife where we served for 11 years, she always said, she prayed, Lord, if my kids are doing something they shouldn't be doing, I pray they get caught.
Yeah.
And because you want them to be safe and protect them from things that they don't even know are out there. Hopefully, that's a big deal. And then I think as a dad to daughters, I think it's also the affection. I'll grab, like I just dropped them off, at school this morning. I got my hand on their arm and I'm saying that morning prayer. Every morning I do the same thing. Lord, this is the day you have made. We will rejoice. Not we feel like it today. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I pray the blessing over them. I remind them. I say, God, we know that everything Lillian has to accomplish today, you've given her everything she needs to accomplish those things. So let her know that she is covered by your hand. And I grab their arm while I'm praying. The other hand's in the steering wheel, and this hand's on their arm. And tradition, those kind of little things, like, after piano lessons, Dad takes me to Culver's and we have Butterburgers, and those little things you do as well. I think those are things that we try to keep in place. And just to be clear, Jan and I, we say this all the time. I just feel like we're failing. I just feel like, so all that stuff sounds great. And then you're like, that's not enough. I feel like there's times you're going, why can't this be this way? Or, whatever. I don't know. What are your thoughts there, Charles?
It's hard.
Well, I mean, what I'm hearing from you is all wonderful stuff. First of all, we have the job as parents to protect, but also to love, and also to serve, and also to encourage. And you just mentioned all four of those things in what you've been saying, and it's all so incredibly important. And you know what? I don't know of a parent out there that feels like they've done a great job.
Yeah.
I look back at Adam's got 4 kids, Brandon's got 4, I've got 2. It's a very difficult thing.
And the older they get, you go back and you say, oh man, I wish I would have done this better.
Yeah.
We always tell, so I have 24-year-old, 22, 18, and 9.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
always thinking,
Yeah,
the first, I don't talk about it too often, but it's like my youngest Lily, she gets the best of all because we learn, we made all the mistakes in the first 3. They were the test ones.
Yes. Unfortunately, you finally start figuring out what you're doing.
No,
and of course, Adam says that I called one time Adam. I called him at the beach, and he was on vacation at the beach, and of course he was doing nothing, just sitting on the beach.
I was on the beach
because
that's vacation.
And I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm just counting to 4." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes,
Always.
"I just every 5 minutes I just go 1, 2, 3. Okay, we got them all. That's good."
A successful day.
That's a successful day.
That is so
Start
true.
with 4. Start in with 4.
Isn't God good though that he doesn't expect us. He knows who we are. He knows that we're making mistakes, and yet he comes around with our children much more than we can, and he makes something good out of what we did. None of us can do it right all the time.
And in the end, just them knowing you're there. It's funny, especially as teenagers. You know how it is. There's this fine line between being too close and being too distant. And if I don't hear from my son for a few days, I just start pursuing just to make sure that he's good. Of course, I got a 20 and a 22-year-old now. It's weird to think that my 22-year-old is starting his career here this month, actually, graduating college, and my 20-year-old is a free spirit. He could probably go 4 months without speaking to me or his teacher at all, and just be perfectly fine. And I will call him, and he's somewhere, in Tijuana or something. I don't know. He just is all over the map. But I pursue him because he doesn't pursue me. My older one pursues me all the time. So you know how it is. They different personalities, and you have to find a balance there. But in the end, the fact that they know that you love God and that you love them with all that you are, I think will keep them close.
And you love their mother.
And they see the love that you have for one another. It's pretty awesome. In fact, I wanted to ask you, because I don't know the story. How did you guys meet? How did you guys come to, because Greg, you were doing a solo career, right?
Yep.
And Janna, you started off in Avalon, or were you doing solo before Avalon?
No, I was actually with a group called Truth before I sang with Avalon.
Oh, that's right. You were in Truth.
And that's where I met Jody. And I left.
Jody, the other guy in Avalon.
I left after 13 months and then eventually brought him with me. But so Greg and I met in Nashville in the summer of 1996.
And got to know each other, though. That was just meeting at industry functions or whatever there. But then I was a solo artist, and Avalon was an artist on a Christmas tour called the Young Messiah Tour. So Young Messiah Tour is multi-artist, 7 to 10 artists, all arenas, orchestra, big choirs, huge tours, 8, 10 buses, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I was an artist on it and they were an artist on it. Of course, I'm single and, Janna's a single female artist. So got to know her on that tour, which is, kind of like Gilligan's Island, a 3-week tour because it's Christmas. I mean, you've only got so many weeks, right? Yeah. So on the night the tour ended, I asked her out, and that was kind of
Smart
the
move,
beginning.
my friend.
Yeah.
And this is a crazy little fact. So I have 2 older brothers.
Yeah.
They are 3 years apart. They have the same birthday.
Yeah.
Same birthday.
Wow.
3 years apart.
December 12th.
So on this very tour that he's speaking of, one night they would every night they would say, "Hey, it's so and so's birthday. We're gonna all get together in catering and give him a cake and sing happy birthday." So on December 12th of that tour, "Hey, everybody, after sound check tonight, let's go to catering." Well, little did I know it was his birthday. So he's December 12th as well.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I called my mom that night and I said, "Do you think this is a sign?" She said, "I think that's a sign." So literally every year, my mom gets all of them the same gift. She buys 3 and that's done.
I had the same birthday as my 2 brothers-in-law.
That's amazing.
Yeah, weird little fun fact.
Wow. So you meet, you're on tour, she's in Avalon, and then you were doing solo, and eventually, Greg, down the road, you ended up joining Avalon.
Yes, I did it the opposite way. You're supposed to be in a group and then start your solo career. So I was blessed with a solo career, and then wanted to make less money and sing other people's songs. So
You and Sammy Hagar.
Yeah. So I stopped being a solo artist, and no, it's the but I did want to spend time with my wife, so that worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And spend time with our then daughter, which was soon on the way. And what was that? 2002, maybe.
You joined in 2003 and she was born in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you see, being together in 2003, touring. It could happen there, then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happened several times actually in the last 30
Fill in the blanks. Yeah.
Nice. Let's that's a great place to take a little break.
Yep.
Sammy Hagar, of all the things to pull out,
I was thinking about Sammy
Hagar.
Hagar because Sammy, he was solo, then he went with Van Halen. Same
Oh,
thing.
that's true.
Greg was solo, then he goes with Avalon.
And
It's
then he went back to being Sammy Hagar.
He did go back, and Greg is back to being Greg too.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, there's a good one. So you know how after the concerts you have autograph tables or whatever and sign people's stuff.
Yeah.
So they're coming through the Avalon autograph line, and they get to me, and this lady goes, "I'm sorry, did you used to be Greg Long?"
That's fantastic. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, speaking of Greg Long and Janna, we're going to come right back to you. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about your career. And we want to find out what you were made to do that you haven't done yet.
That's right. We'll do that and be right back on the Charles Billingsley podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Charles Billingsley podcast. This is Adam. I've got Brandon and Charles here. We are talking with Greg and Janna Long. We've had a very adventurous conversation so far, covering a myriad of subjects. But
Nice.
one of the things that we wanted to chat with you guys about, just due to how long you've been in the industry, is a couple songs and a little background behind them.
Yeah, I'd love to know, Greg. I know one of the songs that I love this song is Mercy Said No. Man, I would love to know a little background on how that came about. How did that, the genesis of that song?
Yep. Thanks. Well, thank you, Brandon. But that was actually inspired in church. I was sitting in
an artist,
in
a Christian artist that goes to church.
I go Christmas
and Easter.
And then if somebody's having a wedding, then I go back for the wedding. No, it was a Sunday morning there in Nashville, back when we lived there. And the Pastor Horace Hockett, Hockett, T, sorry. And I've never experienced this before, because anyway, he said, I want us to all, if my memory serves me correctly, I want us to all close our eyes and remember some of the things you've done that you wish you hadn't done. Like some of the stuff that either nobody knows about that you did or thought about doing. Okay, so this is the stuff that you would be really ashamed of and you would never want anybody to know about. And I don't know how theologically great that is. Like, are we supposed to? But I'll tell you. But here's where he was going. And so we're all everybody's silent in the room, and then some of us are choking up because we're really ashamed. Our sins make us ashamed, as well they should. He said, "Guess what? Now, just about when you and I were about to get what we deserve for thinking those things or for doing those things, and all of our eternity was on the line, mercy came in and said, no, you can't have them. That those sins are paid for." And I'm taking notes for the sermon anyway, but I open my eyes and start writing that down. And, I'm bawling like a baby. And on the way home from church that day, I call my two friends, and Dave Clark and Don Cook, and said, guys, I got an idea I'd like to write for my next record. And they both love the record. And so we got together and wrote it. Yeah. And that has been probably one of my, most recognizable songs. And it's people, it's one of those where you hear stories all the time. Oh, I needed that song. And Charles, you've experienced that, but I'm grateful for it for sure. And it's one of the ones I love to sing.
It was my dad's favorite song of Greg's.
Yeah. Janna's dad said, we said this about Janna's dad. Whenever I would do it, her dad has passed on now. But whenever I would sing Mercy Said No anywhere, I couldn't look it over at her dad, because her dad, and I'll get choked up thinking about it, but her dad, actually the room that we're doing your podcast in, Charles, is the room that he passed away in our house. He was on hospice here in our house and passed away in this room. But when I would look down, if you would look from behind him or from the front, you would see his shoulders shaking, because he would start crying, just being thankful for the fact that Jesus paid the price for us. And we always joke, her dad's...
Wesley said yes, because Mercy said
yes.
No.
Her dad's name was Wesley. When I asked for her hand, we said, when Greg asked for Janna's hand in marriage, Wesley said yes because Mercy said no.
So I remember hearing that song on the radio. And so I was younger, didn't even realize music was what I was going to go into, but loved music, played it. And I still can remember, in fact, when you guys were here a few months ago, you guys did that song.
Yep.
And I walked off stage and was like, that had a key change in it. Because I remember it had this what I later, came to know as a classic the
Don Cook key change.
But you go up and you hit that note and the whole track shifted underneath. And I remember driving in my Bronco, and I'd be like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was such a great song. And another incredible song was one that Janna, you did with Avalon.
Yes.
I Can't Live a Day Without You. I remember the first time I heard either one of those songs, because I was at the same time, working with Don and Dave, writing for my records, because Greg and I used the same guys to produce our records at this time when I was solo as well. And about that time, here comes this other song from Avalon, I Can't Live a Day Without You. And that's when I fell in love with Janna's voice. I remember that's the first time I heard your singing, Janna, and it was just
I get chills just
I
thinking
listened to
about
it
it.
1,000 times. So tell us about that song.
So, little known fact, when I moved to Nashville, Jody and I had left Truth and we had no money. We'd signed a record deal, but there had been no live shows or touring. So there was no money. So Jody and I worked at a local department store there in Nashville, and we would also do demos for songwriters. So I did the demo for Can't Live a Day, some point that summer. And
I can't remember.
I did a lot of demos. And so you don't always remember the songs later, but I always felt like that song, it was special.
It was being pitched for a female artist.
For a female artist that you would know. Just really fell in love with the song. Well, we go to do.
Again? I can't remember. Who wrote that again?
Joe Beck, Connie Harrington, and a guy named Ty Lacey.
Oh, yeah.
So I did the demo. A female artist put it on hold. Well, weeks, maybe a couple months go by, and we're picking songs for the next Avalon record. And somehow that song made it into a song meeting. And long story, a few days later, that artist decided to pass on it. So it came back into our hands. And I just think it was meant to be, and I'm really glad she decided not to do it, because it's the song that I guess I identify the most with and love to sing, and pretty special.
What was your thoughts when you first heard it? I mean, when you did it connect with you right away?
Absolutely. And again, doing a lot of demos, just trying to make money, but that one stuck with me, and I don't know, it really resonated with me. You can have all this stuff and accomplish this and accomplish that. But, at the end of the day, if you don't have Jesus, if you don't have something more than that, it's kind of all meaningless. And I was just so privileged that I got to sing it and kind of help find it. And it found its way back to me. And that's the one that I love.
Was that on the project after the Testify to Love record?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember similar. I remember the first time I heard it. So I had picked up the Testify to Love project somewhere along the way, and had that and Adonai, which were huge songs.
Yeah.
So you guys released a new project, and I'm like, I'll pick it up. I don't know where we're going to go, because when you have great success, your biggest worry is, can the next album live up to it?
Yes.
So I'm listening to the first few tracks, and I think it's late 90s, so everything had this like pop feel to it and everything.
Yes.
And it was probably track 4, because that's where all great, ballad songs go on the project. And it came on, and immediately I was like, oh, this is a song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can tell. Well, and you know what? It's a couple of the Mercy Said No, Can't Live a Day. Those are the kinds of songs that surpass generations. They become timeless pieces of music because the message is so strong, the music is so clear and wonderful, and the vocals are just undeniable. And so to think that you guys were a part of that, plus many others, I know it has to be a huge blessing in your life, but it also has blessed thousands and thousands of others. In fact, I'm just thinking, guys, maybe we should do a Avalon podcast with all 4 Avalon.
Ooh, that would be fun.
What do you think?
I would well, don't forget, when I went to Liberty, and so Avalon, man, I remember them coming to Liberty, singing.
They were really, really, really awesome.
I would love to hear from these guys.
And they have a new release from like a year ago, so we need to.
Wow.
Well, we just finished a new one, and so by the time we do if we can all get back and do a podcast with you, that should be about the time it's going to probably be releasing. So that'll be great.
Right.
I love it. We'll make that happen.
Done.
In the meantime, I got one more question for y'all, if that's okay. Thanks by the way, for spending so much time with us today. But the other question I would have, just for you personally, and it can either be as a couple or individuals, is there something in your life, and we do this with everybody, we ask everybody the same question, that you feel like you were made to do that you haven't done yet? Maybe Greg, you feel like you were really made to build a house with your bare hands and you haven't done it yet, or maybe
Janna's laughing.
maybe Janna's always felt like she could hunt a bear with a bow and arrow. I don't know. But is there something in your life that you haven't accomplished that you want to do before it's, we're too old to get it done? If money wasn't an object, if time wasn't an issue, what would you do?
Go ahead, Greg.
Well, no.
Take it away.
So I have a horrible answer because you told us that at the beginning. Here's going to be the last question. So you're not going to like my answer, and I hope it doesn't come across as
Pompous.
If I love how she finishes your sentence.
If I had no money issues, like I have, like Greg, unlimited supply of budget. Okay, I would do, and this is a blessing, I would do exactly what I'm doing, only I would do it better. I would probably do it. I mean, I always have ever since college. I love what I do. So I had lunch with a worship pastor yesterday. He's like, I kind of like being the architect. He has to be all phrased. Like, I don't really leading worship. I mean, it's nice, but it's not my thing. And I'm thinking to myself, that's all I really want to do. I mean, I can't think of anything else. There's nothing. I'm not good. I'm horrible at anything else. Okay. So there's that.
I know that feeling.
And Charles, I think when we were back at Thomas Road, that Jan and I were there a couple months ago, and the three of us got to go out there and lead worship for Thomas Road that day. You had some of your peeps with you from your team, which was awesome. But, we've been friends for a long time, Charles. So when you and I and Janna got to go out there and lead worship together, it doesn't get any better for me than that. That is exactly what I want to do. And
Frank, I love that answer.
Okay. Well,
it tells us that you're walking in the center of what you're called to do. And that's a beautiful thing.
Well, I feel very, very blessed to do it. And I can't say how grateful I am. Absolutely not.
Janna, what about you?
Janna's like, you told me this. She said, honey, you go first. Otherwise, you could have gone first. Then,
I know you said one, but I have two, and one is really trivial. I have always wanted to be able to do a pull-up.
A pull-up?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
The kind where you're like working out and you do a pull-up.
So women are,
clear.
I believe this is a generally understood statement. Women, upper body strength is not like a man's is. So it's harder to be stronger, I think, especially in the upper body. So after our last child, when I lost all the baby weight on my own that I could, it was really for the first time in my life consistently, I got back in the gym and started working out and, really trying to get stronger. But that's one thing that even working with several trainers, I've never been able to master that.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Not easy, but that's very trivial. On the other spectrum, Greg and I through the years have talked about, I'll say this. I love the baby stage. I've had 3 babies. It's a hard stage, but one that I love. And we have felt that at some point God would open the door or call us to foster babies, especially like in emergency placement, like, foster care. Still raising our 3. I don't know when that will happen, but I've always had a desire to do that. I have a strong desire or need to nurture and to care for. And I think God will open that door at some point. So
we
between
started
the pull-up and the babies.
The pull-up and the babies.
You might need to do the pull-up first, and then
Well, we have a friend that we interviewed a few weeks back named Pat Williams, and he started with 1 and ended up with 19. So it's pretty amazing how the Lord just tends to work through these things.
Yeah.
And
that's such an incredible need. I'm glad you mentioned that, Janna, because I was talking to a friend of mine who's helping to run a program, at least here in Virginia, called Safe Families, that when there are people who are, maybe they have something with legal issues or substance abuse, and rather than putting them into the system, the child protection system, there are safe families who can take them for 9, 12, 15 weeks. And then sometimes those actually lead into foster care and adoption. So that's fantastic. Thanks for saying that.
It is. And those are all worthwhile goals. And I think it's pretty neat that you're going to accomplish all that. I really believe, Janna, within the next year, you're going to be not just doing one pull-up, but more than one.
Maybe by the next podcast with Avalon.
That's right. Maybe that should be our goal. The next podcast with Avalon, you're going to be doing it. But in the meantime, we want to thank you guys for being on. Now, before we let anybody go, we want to know how people can find you, how churches can find you to schedule you if they want you guys to come as a duo. Tell us about all your information there.
Yeah, and let me mention this too, because about a month ago, and you know this, Charles, we have, because of what God's blessed us to do, Jan and I lead worship and guest worship lead in literally some of the biggest churches in the country, right? And they pay you nicely to do it. It's an honor to be there, blah, blah, blah. So about a month ago, I was in a car and I had just had lunch with this pastor who planted a church 4 years ago. And he was asking me, he's like, well, if you ever have an off weekend, I would love you just to come and just kind of look and give me, tell me some things that we could do better and all that. And he's like, we couldn't afford to have you come lead worship or whatever and all that. And I called Jan and I said, baby, I feel like when we're not at these churches that can pay us, some of those Sundays, we just want to sit in a home church and be fed, right? But I said, I feel like we need to be on some off weekends going to churches where they can't pay us. They literally don't, there's no budget to have a guest worship leader who does it for a living come in. And she goes, okay. I said, I think we need to start with Danny. And she's like, okay. So I immediately called him and I said, Jan and I have 2 weeks from this Sunday. We had that Sunday off. We'd like to come lead worship for you if you don't mind. And he goes, oh, Greg, we can't, I told you we can't afford that. I'm like, no. You're not going to pay us anything. Right. So here's what I felt, here's what I felt in my heart. I shouldn't say God spoke to me. The story of the talents, right? You've got one person has 5, one person has 10. And the person that had 1 took that talent and hid it and buried it. And I felt, to me, like I've always felt, I've been blessed to make a living at what we do, but that's not why we do what we do. God has called us to do what we do. And so, Greg and Janna, GregandJanna.com, gregandjanna.com. That's how you go to the website. You can click to have us come to your church and lead worship or whatever. And let me just tell you, you say, we can't afford it. Fine. Send that thing in and say in there, we're small and we can't afford it. And then let's see if God works it out for a certain time. We can come be at your church where you can't afford it because God can afford it. And if he wants us to come there, he will work it out. We love what we do and we don't do it just for money. We do it because we're called to do it. And we don't just go to the big old churches like Wicked and Thomas Road. Those are not, we want to do what we do, and we don't want to hide our talents on those weekends that we're not scheduled somewhere to do it. So if you go to there, you can see all the social media there too. And then of course, Avalon, this is maybe easier. It's avalonthegroup.com, avalonthegroup.com. That'll take you to all of our stuff as well.
Awesome. Man, that's great. Thank you guys so much. It is just so refreshing and wonderful to talk to 2 friends in the music industry who have just wonderful hearts, a great family, such a rich heritage and legacy of songs, but also still doing it because you love to do it, you were called to do it, and because you love the Lord God and want to honor him with it. So
hey, and let us end with this, Charles. Just so you know, hats off to you because you've been doing this for a while as well. And I can tell you, we were at a place 2 weeks ago and your name came up and it was like, oh, we love Charles. We've known him forever. Your reputation, man, God has blessed you, and people all over the country, if they know you, they love you, and you've been to their church and you've sown into their worship department. You've sown into their choir, into their musicians. God has used you in that local church. And so hats off to you for being a faithful servant of the Lord for these years and dedicating your life to him and the work that he's called you to do, Sir Charles Billingsley.
That's very, very kind. Thank you, guys. I love you. You guys
Love you too.
No, I think it's been a fantastic time visiting with you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
It was
And
fun.
maybe you clicked on to hear from a link in social media, Instagram or something like that. Be sure to go up and click the subscribe button so that you can join us every week on the Charles Billingsley podcast.
Oh yeah, this is a great guest just like this every single week. So Greg and Janna, thank you again for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll be back next week with another great guest on the Charles Billingsley podcast.